And we're all here. Reading of the minutes.
Motion to accept.
Any discussion? All in favor? Announcements, RSU 64 budget meeting will be on Thursday, June 5th at 7 at CCES. The RSU 64 budget validation referendum will be on Tuesday, June 10th at the town office. Polls will be open 8 to 8. With any public comment? Nobody.
Not raining.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The next 2 days.
Yeah.
3 days.
Yeah.
That is a good public comment. Put that in the minutes. We may need that. All right, so do we have anything from the fire chief?
He does have an appointment to get the ambulance taken in. We didn't have a great phone connection. I believe it's June 9th.
Any, ETA on when it's out? Did they say gonna take a week, gonna take 2?
I didn't get that from him.
Okay, because if, I'm betting that the transmission would be there on the 9th. And so that might be, okay, very good.
And I met with electrician today to hook up the air system. And he actually come up with a pretty good way to do it. When they built that building, they should have service mounted electric panel so you could get in and out of it. But they got inside of the wall, so you can run it. And they got, and one of the big beams right inside, so really handy to get into that electrical panel. But anyway, we're gonna run some duct underneath it, and we could get into that from the full panel, then go upstairs from inside. To make a nice neat job. You're gonna give me a call on Monday, let me know the price.
Down there?
Oops, it is a fire chief. Oh, what do you want me to wait, like? Mention that, we are still being called out, and every call can us get town profits, so.
We have.
Let's put it in to
At the
municipal.
end, okay?
I can talk to that too.
But they're gonna say they're coming here a lot more for EMS calls now too.
So I don't have a written report tonight. It's a little bit on the light side. I was out sick earlier and this week has been dedicated a lot to the server upgrade. So there was a lot of, it went pretty well, but, I had some issues with my computer and getting locked out of some of the documents.
No talk for that.
We're hopefully
Crossing our fingers
getting that
and hope.
fixed. I think by tomorrow, everything should be good. And someone's supposed to stop and pick up the equipment that we're renting before June 1st, so we don't have another month's rental on that.
Oh, good.
Portland Glass is here today. They got through the doors in. They'll be back tomorrow to finish up.
Do we need to do the trim?
No, they're gonna
They're
come
gonna
back
be
and,
inside and out?
yeah,
Okay.
uh,
They look nice from one side.
yeah, and you can see a little bit of daylight underneath them, so there'll be a sweep that goes on to correct that. So I'll have to do some rekeying to get everything back to being standardized, right? We'll start working on that as soon as they're all done.
I didn't think that part.
Didn't occur to me until they showed up,
Like,
yeah. And that, I think, is the bulk of what I have for this part, that I'm gonna cover later.
all right, unfinished business. We're gonna finalize the facility security and EMS policies.
So I can't find those to print them right now.
Because of the server.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
I went to print them today and
I'm gonna make a motion. We table that for now.
Yeah.
Second that.
apologize for that.
Until next meeting.
Wouldn't be bad at the same thing.
So I do have the fee schedule.
Great.
Um,
And the stuff.
While on the table.
Oh, any discussion? All in favor?
Yeah, so the folder that I primarily work out of, I asked them to change the permissions on because some of it shouldn't be generally available, and when they did that, I also got.
Nothing was generally available.
So the fee schedule, the only update on this is on the dog license category, the impound fee for the second offense increased from 25 to 50, that was talked about at the last meeting. If the board votes to approve this, I'll stipulate that on the new shelter contract and get that sent in.
Are these all the same figures as last year?
Yeah,
Also, just the dollar amounts change?
right.
Okay.
I think it is gonna be worth at some point going back through and reconsidering everything on here and just making sure it's still appropriate.
So, under the £5 pool water bill, that's still happening?
It's,
That's,
Go ahead.
it's not, it's still possible, but it's not happening.
it's not a private pool, it's the truck that's there.
Right,
Oh, you.
yeah, so we're selling
I was
water,
gonna say,
yeah,
yeah.
I think someone on the wall, we see the price.
That's right, we have that, so.
right. And
Right.
the chief's not here, I think his position is he'd prefer not to sell water anyway, because it takes a long time to recharge the
And having the pump.
reservoir there. So sometime in the future, it might be worth considering whether you want to eliminate that altogether. Although I think since we increased the price, from my understanding, no one has done it.
Was given away before.
So if that's the case, we may want to withdraw that whole thing, take that away out.
It's worth considering, I think.
Yeah.
All right. New business.
Did you want to accept this?
Yes, I did actually.
Make the motion, you accept that?
That's what,
I second it.
look at it.
Please, get
Any discussion?
You
What
have to
does
say,
that-
you have to say,
What's
I
that?
know, fee schedule, I said fee schedule.
Fee schedule. I second it. Accept the fee schedule. Any discussion? Other than fee schedule? All in favor? All right. I wanted to accept that first, but now we're gonna move on to new business. Vacancy for planning board and RSU 64 director. So.
do we have an alternate?
So,
We do have an alternate, don't we?
don't. So there's the two positions, the planning board and the school board. On the planning board, you don't currently have an alternate. I vaguely,
Roseanne.
Keep looking at David.
Because I was trying to get.
I vaguely remember from Stephen saying at one of the meetings that he had done some research and there was never a provision to include an alternate on the planning board. So there were just 5 members.
And we had that discussion and we went back and
I thought
looked.
we fixed.
Yeah, and so instead of, when we had one go off, instead of appointing an alternate, we kept it where it was.
Right. So one thing, if you look at the terms that the current members have, they're not 1 a year and they're 5-year terms. I'm not sure why that is. I looked through previous town reports and 10 years ago, everybody was on a 5-year term with one coming up every year. I think it'd be worth trying to get back to that.
If you can get a full board, yeah.
And this would be a good appointment to stack that on. I don't have any,
It's 2 and 3. 2 years, it's they aren't all going off same time,
right,
but there's not enough going, there's not enough rotation.
right, there's 5 members doing 5-year terms, it should be one.
Right here.
I think we worked on that 2 years ago.
Well,
See, I haven't drawn
what's
that out.
happened is just like this. like, if he was gonna be out 5 years, now we've got to appoint somebody else, and this is what's happened, is they haven't served a full 5 years, and then, okay, so we start that now.
Well, we gotta look at the, see when they go off the board. So when we get, figure when everybody's terms are.
It should be kind of set up like the budget, the rest of them,
Right.
expires. I thought we fixed that, but I guess it didn't get done.
If somebody gets done in the middle of it, then it.
Well, somebody should just take over the rest of their term.
Right.
That's how it should work out. But happens like that, that's why you only get a 1 year terms. Interesting.
So, does anybody have any suggestions on the, maybe? suggestions?
I spent 23 years in the military, I don't raise my hand.
You've got that look though before, haven't you?
Oh, I got it.
You get it at home too, right?
Oh.
Doesn't the school board have to be elected?
Yes, I'm talking
The
about,
only
planning
one.
board, right, talking about. School board. What, we had, because it's the same thing with the school board last time, remember? Because we had one member that got on and wasn't able to, got a different job, and then we had to, bring in somebody else.
I think it's the same.
No, it's a little bit different. So on the school board vacancy, the statute says that the municipal officers shall appoint someone to complete the
Because
term.
we did that, remember the last time?
So I don't think that leaving it vacant is really an acceptable option.
I agree.
I don't think there's a huge rush to fill it until you find someone or until you decide what process you want to use to fill it. If you'd want to meet with people prior to considering an appointment or
Was there anybody else that run against Wanda?
no. She was the only
I
candidate.
was gonna say,
Well, I did want to, but I was.
there's an opening, we may
Yeah.
have someone say, I'm interested, because I've had a couple of people that were interested, so.
Yeah.
And we can put it out there,
Rush home to call.
I'm gonna. But planning board, think, maybe same thing, we should wait and see if anybody's interested. Planning board.
Janet.
Sorry,
I should say after the military, we don't raise our hand, we raise our hand. Again.
I think,
True story.
He's over there.
That-
there's no,
That's school board. School board is in there.
yeah, school board, or
I-
as
We'd have to review it anyway.
I think Jana might currently be on the Board of Appeals. Which you'd have to vacate to,
Well, it seems though they're going at once in 19 and a half years.
Right, yeah.
But if there's somebody new in the community that wants to get involved, would be wonderful.
but Jana has the, yeah, so, all right, and then we'll put a couple names of.
Okay, well, I'll ask her. She might say no to,
I can
just because
We'll put it out there and see if we
post
get
on
any volunteers.
the web and see if there's any interest.
David, is there something you're interested in?
Just keep getting tighter and tighter.
David, is there something you're interested in?
Either one of those positions?
Number one, I have to talk a lot with my wife, and I've got some other stuff I'm working on right now, so.
Believe us.
It wasn't a no.
I know.
no.
Yeah.
So you're telling us there's hope.
well, when he said he had talked to his wife, I got running off right there.
Yeah.
Just don't how these things go.
She didn't even want me to come here tonight.
He's very level-headed, so probably not.
Yeah.
All right, moving on from there.
I did give up.
Yeah.
Are you gonna try to come back? Is a name for next meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's table that until next meeting, because I think next meeting we'll have a better understanding and a better idea, because it's kind of, it's taken me by surprise, so it'll probably be,
Yeah,
I'll support the table.
okay, any stuff on the table?
Well, yeah, because if we table it, does that mean we're not gonna post it?
You're right.
Well, can we
Well,
both?
We can't act on it until next meeting anyway, see if they post it.
Well, we got nobody.
If you table it, you can't post it.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna put it off
We're
till
gonna-
next time,
we're
I
gonna-
just want, it just kind of, if we're tabling, that means we're not gonna worry about it.
Back next meeting to appoint these two positions. That works. I make a motion that next meeting we appoint these two positions.
I suppose that.
You wanna post it? Then we can
That's,
post it.
but that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Post it and table it.
We're gonna,
I know, but are we going to advertise it, is what I'm asking.
Put it on, what's working on it.
I think, so there's a few ways we can advertise it. I mean, we could do it,
On the side.
if you want, like an official advertisement, we can run it in the Gazette. Or we could do some postings, like we do regular meetings, put it on the sign, the website and Facebook.
Yes.
That's what I
Is
think.
there any?
So I think the Gazette's
I
very
think
sad.
that's probably.
I make a motion that we post it, Facebook, website, and the sign, and come back next meeting and appoint the volunteers that,
See if we have any.
if we have any,
Right.
and
So we're going from table to whatever we do.
go,
What's going?
yeah.
No, she's trying to,
is there any discussion?
no, I think that cleared it up.
All in favor?
Table.
Who actually supported that though?
Charlie,
Which time?
Three times she changed her mind, I went with her.
All right, BYOB event application.
Okay, so this has actually been canceled, so I reached out to the state with a question because there was an error on the initial application. They resubmitted it. I reached out with a procedural question on how to handle it on the municipal land. And he started asking questions, called the applicant, decided that it didn't require a permit. So he avoided the whole thing and they're all set to do what they were planning.
oh, good.
So I don't know if it's gonna have longer term applications for whether we're getting these anymore.
Good.
So
Or not.
what was his, why did he say it didn't need one? Because they weren't selling, they were just open bar? or
Well,
what?
so there's a list of requirements, one of them, for it to be a BYOB function, one of them is being open to the public, which if you're having a wedding, that's a private event. So it had to do with whether they were bringing it themselves or if their attendees were bringing it, it wasn't gonna require a permit. If they had a caterer providing it, it would be, I guess, another license, which probably the caterer would have.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the details were. He just got back to me and said,
We don't need it,
yeah,
okay.
Cool.
so.
So that might be, it might streamline their process,
Yeah,
if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because if it's not an open to the public and they're selling or whatever, that might streamline their process with weddings.
Manpower they don't have.
All right, so you don't need us to do anything with that.
no,
Next up, ordinance amendment process. I'm so excited about this.
So I looked through the process on that and there isn't any specific language on how you have to do it. There's a couple ways you could present it. One is small changes you could do with a strike through and new text. Larger changes, you'd wanna do a whole
Town meeting approval.
a whole redo, well, so regardless of what you do, it has to be approved by the legislative body.
Which is,
Which is town meeting. So. I think it's a question of whether you want to propose
abolishment.
Well, an amendment that
sorry.
would fit on one sheet that everybody can look at. And then just vote on that, or if you want to redraft the entire ordinance and then have like an executive summary saying, these are the places to look for what we changed.
This was zoning.
I think it's a matter of preference,
I
keep
think-
it simple
I think keep it simple and just strike it right out of there altogether.
and then,
Did the planning board have any feedback on this?
They were,
They're-
they,
yeah,
the
so,
ones that sent it to us last meeting.
Because I told him, I was at the plan board meeting, I told him, if you want us to do something, you need to send it to us.
Yeah.
In a written
And
request.
they were in favor of abolishment.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Hmm?
but they didn't have any, like,
No, but
abolish it, but they didn't have any say in.
they had,
well, so they identified the specific sections that they recommended removal on. So overall, the site plan review ordinance stays intact. You're basically just removing their recommendation was to remove the.
That section, so we're not abolishing the whole thing.
No,
That's right,
just
when you
don't-
say abolish the whole thing,
no,
that's what I'm.
just that section.
So, what part specifically did you guys want to leave in the site plan review?
Like, so I think all do taking up the zones that are marked for residential, multifamily, multi-unit.
Okay, so, I think we better discuss that because there are multiple issues with that site plan review. The development parts and all of that have been brought forth by a number of the citizens, myself being one of them. So we probably need to discuss that.
If we're gonna,
And if I remember correctly, the planning board had, go ahead,
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna do much like that, we
Yeah.
probably should do it. in
Yeah,
conjunction
with the-
plan.
absolutely, absolutely. Let me grab my paper from them, because I was trying to think. Been 2 weeks, and I can't remember exactly what was said, but did you want to add anything to that? I saw the question in your eyes, if you were gonna say something. go
yeah,
ahead.
so, one thing I would add is there are still housing related bills under consideration in Augusta right now,
Also,
and
they may pre-exempt some of this anyway.
yeah, and so it might be worth doing a wholesale review of the process, especially on the housing side, to make sure that it's not already being preempted by state law.
Right.
And
Well,
then the question would be, is this something that you want to consider at a special town meeting, or do you want to hold this, go through the process and then wait and put it on the warrant for March?
I think we're gonna have to go through a process, and we don't know how long it's gonna take.
yeah,
We don't wanna just go walking in and changing something huge, and then be like, oh, wow, what did we do?
Well, the plan board basically said that I do know why it was done, but it probably wasn't.
Well, it says here, planning board members feel that without section 9.2, they are still able to hold developers to other standards listed in the site plan review ordinance.
Right. That's when everybody panicked though, when they created that.
but this, the other thing I will say is if we can get through the process and looking into it, we probably should move, because we've got citizens that have things that if we move slow like a turtle, they're next spring before they can do anything, when they have to wait for a special town meeting. These people have money invested, and this town needs some housing. So, I would think if we can get through the process, I don't wanna race the process, don't worry, Roseanne. I don't wanna race the process, but I don't want to hold it up if we can move it along.
Because the multifamily housing project, that is one of the ones they're talking about right now, the height. They're saying that the height of the building that they're talking about the state saying, we don't care what the towns say, this is what it's gonna be.
And there's several things on that is preempted by the state, like they had multifamily, you could bring in a tiny house when we had the problems, that the state overrode what that said here.
Well, they kind of didn't though, because it's funny how legislators can never think that you have to get rid of the solid, sewage. So, I mean, you have to have well separation and sewer separation in a small lot. That's great, and wonderful in the city, because they have city sewer, but out here, if you gotta add another sewer system, you just can't tap into it. That's the whole thing. I mean, family down there, they don't know that. Down the gas there, they don't realize that.
All right, so we can specifically what the planning board, the parts that the planning board wants to, abolish. Can we look at the entire thing at the next meeting, the entire, site plan ordinance?
Yep.
So that we can look at it specifically, because I know some of us aren't really familiar with it, and there's a lot of parts to it. And we can look at the whole thing next meeting, if you don't mind.
No, I can get that printed off, I'll, it's on the website, but I'll email a copy of it out, so. Do you have a hard copy of it, Roseanne?
Mhm.
Do you have a hard copy, you mean? Or- Okay, so I won't print one off for you.
All right. And then we can look at it, because we've had it's been a lot of back and forth with that, so we can look at it specifically and all form a good idea of what we want and where we want to. We know what they are looking at, and maybe we can talk to them about that too. So, all right, anything else on that?
No.
No. All right, review and sign warrant 21 and 22.
Make a motion.
Nothing to warrant 20. Last one was 18 and 19, then this is 20.
What are you gonna give us 20?
Oh, they're dragging this.
Is that 29? Yeah, 29. We should.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we accept 20 if it's available, and 21 and 22.
I second that, but I'm not saying. Any discussion on 20, 21, and 22?
We don't know where 20 is.
You know, it's
I forgot
been
what it
there,
was.
been there. All in favor?
That one, I recommend nothing.
Right, exactly. We covered it all, just
Right.
like we always do. All right, number 9, other business, EMS data review.
This is big no go. Everybody should have the packet to be provided.
Yep.
When you go.
So I'll start with, what do you folks have for? Like the first point, I'm sorry, I'll point out first, there's a discrepancy between the March revenue report and the April revenue report on the total summer charges for March. And the reasoning for that is that the billing company switched to new billing software on March 2nd. And when they sent me the report in early April for March, it had just a few runs from March that they had run through the new billing software, but it was a different report than I'm used to seeing. And it actually didn't include the adjustments in it. So we have our billing rate that we set here about a year ago now. That is, our BLS rate, our ALS rate, and our mileage rate. Insurance companies have an adjustment, right? Like this is our contractual allowance that we'll pay for that type of call or that type of call. And so when we send out a bill, when we know we're sending it to United Healthcare or MaineCare or Medicare, we don't send them a bill for the $1,800. We send them a bill for the $1,800 minus that contractual allowance, whatever that is. And so they get a bill for $600 or $700, right? The sum of charges too, that is our rate minus whatever contractual allowances are allowed there, because those are the bills that we sent out. Essentially, the only people that pay the rates that we set here about a year ago are self-pay.
What, is the discrepancy between the run numbers? We've got
Run-
one
number-
63 on this one. And then 159 on the top and 152 on the bottom.
So the discrepancy there is on line 23 runs from March. On that April report, when they sent me those handful of runs, 23 lines that we did in March onto that new billing software. They broke it out by line.
Okay, so
There's-
how come it's 163 on here?
On which one?
On main ambulance run data report by agency name.
That's a completely different report. We can't, you're talking apples to oranges right there. So,
What do you mean?
so that ambulance run data report, that is from 2024.
Okay,
That data is from 2024. This is from March.
okay, so
and April
that's the
2025.
total of just the year.
And these runs on this revenue report, these are the runs that were billed. This is the number of runs that Warren Fire Department transported a patient and sent the bill.
Okay, that's some of the discrepancies that we're having trouble with, because we're getting two separate numbers. One with the non-transports added in, and one without the non-transports. Like, if they're canceled or non-transports, those are on some reports, those are on there, and on some reports, they aren't. So we need to figure that out. So, all right, so this is 2024, you're saying?
Yep.
This is from
I didn't
January.
start talking.
I'm just doing revenue right now.
I know, I just like to figure out where the numbers
So on
are.
the revenue for April, for 2025, I don't see April on there. I don't, is that
There's
the,
nobody going on calls.
so there's,
There's no revenue transported.
I got
First
you,
report.
but it's, they wouldn't,
Mail,
but then, it
mail,
was,
handled monthly transports. There's 3 calls in April that resulted, I think 3, either 3 or 2, that resulted in Warren Fire Department transporting a patient. But nobody sent them to be billed, so they haven't been billed yet.
Why?
Any kind of operational questions, I'm gonna leave those for the fire chief.
Okay,
But the difference between the 23 number for March on the March one and the the 16 number on March for the April one was because they broke out each line by line. They had 2 lines for each billed call. One was the ALS or BLS rate, and the other one was the mileage rate. And when they sent us the report in May or April, they did not do that. And so it was easier to say, okay, this was the actual number. So it was 23 runs in March, the 16th. Anybody have any questions on that revenue report? And Jacob, you get this, you don't get this, but you get the revenue reports every month.
I'm not, I just, Jill,
Sample.
yeah, sent me a bunch of stuff, and one of them was in response to, I'd asked for some stuff, and I've got to get back with her, we're gonna try to get that set up, but right now, the only thing that she sends me is notification if they receive checks that they're going to be mailing here for us to receive.
Oh, okay. I have a man, when I get this, you're copied on it, so it might, and it contains a zip file, I don't, maybe it's going to jump or,
Okay,
but maybe. Because the assistant chief gets around, you get it, and so
okay,
it's not this, but it's
yeah.
all the stuff with the six.
So when you talk about the rate of what you bill that you collect, are you talking about the sum of charges, or are you talking about what theoretically the cost is based on the fee schedule here?
The sum of charge, so what we bill, right? So on average, EMS call probably costs around $1,600 to $1,800. Or that's what the bill would be based on the rates that we've set for the ALS level call. Like I said, the only people that actually get that bill are self-pay patients. This sum of charges too, this is that rate minus whatever contractual allowance the insurance companies have.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to say we're reporting out on, well, we set the rate at $1,800, but we never sent anyone a bill that said $1,800. So it wouldn't make sense to report it.
Right,
So this is the contractual allowance for, these are actual bills that people have seen.
So the contractual allowance, so like, I'm just gonna give an example, like when I receive my bill, right? So I get the bill, what the provider could have charged if I had been self-pay. And then they have the insurance adjustment and then the difference. So that's what we're talking about here. And then what the insurance company is actually going to pay. And then what me as a patient has to pay the difference. That makes sense? Did I say that?
Yep.
Okay, so the sum of charges is what the contractual is that what you're saying?
It's the difference between what our rate is and what the contractual allowance is. So,
And then the sum of payments is what we're actually getting paid.
so the payments is what we receive.
So when we've talked about expecting to collect, I think it's like 30 to 40% of what you bill, are we talking about the sum of charges
So we're
or?
talking, no, when we said,
Okay.
when we talked about 30 to 40% of what we bill, we're talking about that rate, the $1,800, for instance, if it's an
Okay.
ALS level call. We're talking about 30 to 40% of that rate.
Okay, so when we can see here that we're doing pretty good collection wise,
Yep.
because it's based on the sum of charges,
Yep.
that's to be expected.
Yeah, because that's what that is the bill that we've sent to people, right? So, or into the insurance, to the payers, right? So if we send Main Care a bill for $600 and they pay $600, in theory, we're collecting 100%, right?
Right.
We could say, well, that we're gonna, the rate says $1,800, we collected 600, so we collected 33%. It's almost 6 of one and half a dozen of another on how you report it. They've never seen a bill for $1,800, so it
Right,
wouldn't make sense to say we billed 1,800 and collected 600.
right, but just looking at this, where we've billed the total of $115,000. It's reasonable to expect that we're gonna recover a large portion of
Very close,
that.
yeah, very close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
The other thing to consider though is we haven't worked with a collection company at all, like we haven't contracted with any collection company. The billing company sends 3 bills to, folks that are the self-pays essentially, and if there's any outstanding patient balance, they send 3 bills for it. I've talked to a few other agencies that have contracted with collection agency, Thomas Agency is one of them. And I think they pay, I don't wanna say that, I don't even know what they pay, it's like 50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
Is what they'll pay for the collection.
So I have a question. So the rate is between 16 and 1,800. So if something happens to me, let's say I don't have insurance, I get a bill for 16 to 1,800. But if my grandmother, and I still have been living, was on Medicare or Medicaid, she wouldn't get the bill for 16 to 1,800. She would get what they pay.
She wouldn't get a bill at all, they would bill her insurance.
Right. But what I'm saying is when they are billed, when Medicaid or Medicare is billed, they're billed at what rate?
They confront whatever the contractual allowance for that rate, for that company is.
So when we say that we're collecting this amount, we're not actually collecting that percentage of our rates. We're collecting that percentage of the contracted with.
We're receiving the contractual amount. So with
Right.
main care, don't know what it is, but we'll just say it's,
But
it's $600.
So
So
we're not actually collecting that percentage of our rates, that's what I'm saying.
no, we're not collecting the 1,800, we're collecting what the contractual
Which
rate.
could be 1/3. So
Or
if I
less.
provide a service and I say, well, I'm collecting 50% of my what's billed out, but part of those people, I'm only billing 1/3. The revenue is actually nowhere near.
I don't know if 1/3 is.
Well, if it's
accurate.
1,800 and you're billing something, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we have to keep that in mind because especially going forward when Main Care and all those are giving an IOU. So because we're not gonna be collecting. We're not actually collecting that.
But we don't know we'd have to also ask them to run a report to show us what insurance, what our, payers look like. Like how many are self-pay, how many are Medicare, we'd have to look
We
at.
have, it's part of the report.
It is part of the report, so that would be interesting to look at to see what our pool is, because honestly, the self-pays, some of them, you may have some people that are gonna pay the 1,800 because I got a service, right? And then you're gonna have some that they just either can't or won't,
Right,
so,
and if Maincare is gonna give an IOU, even on the lower rate that they're contracted at, you know, that's why your revenue isn't going to be. Like, we can say we're collecting 59% of what's billed out, but that isn't actually collecting 59% of our rate.
We're actually collecting more than 59% of what's being done.
Right. So,
but it's not of the amount we're charging, it's not of the amount that we
if
have
I.
on our fee schedule.
Right, if
It's
I,
not on our fee schedule, we're not getting paid that based on our fee schedule, we're getting it based on what the contractual rate is.
if you look at the revenue, if I charged everybody $100 to come to your house, but then I just charged Stuart 50, but I said, oh, he
Thank you.
paid me the 50, that's 50% of what my actual rate is, but I've collected 100% of what his contract.
And that's what makes insurance so
Yeah.
confusing.
And that's what makes the revenue part hard to, you know, I can say, well, our ambulance is collecting more than 59% of what's billed out. But in actuality, they're only collecting 45% of our rate.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a great comparison though to use, because there's no insurance company that's gonna pay the rates that we set, right?
Oh, I agree.
So,
All I'm saying is we have to look at both.
It's like
ways.
sticker price on a
We
car.
we have to look at it. We can't say that we're getting paid out at our rate and have it look really good, when in actuality, we're not being paid our rate, we're being paid if we're giving that to them at 1/3 or 1/2. Like, that's a completely different number, and you have to look at both of those to show the whole story. That's all I'm saying.
But we can't, I think what we need to be aware of is, we can't say, okay, we do 159 ambulance runs at $1,800 and say, oh, that's our projected income. We have to say, this is how much we charge, but that isn't what insurance and providers are gonna pay us.
Mhm.
And we have to be aware of that.
Right.
I don't think we can, I think we'd have to have a whole, a set of data and then say, well, this is how many runs we did, and this is what our insurance payers look like. Because I think we need to get away from the 1,800, 1,600, get away from our fee schedule.
And I'll get no, so it doesn't.
But
Something else
going
work on.
forward, if we were going to, that's stuff to me, we need to look at.
All right, did you guys have any other questions on this?
So I noticed on the days out, like back in August, we still have a amount due. Is that so we got our sum due, we still have sums due as far as back as August, correct? And then we have sums of write-offs. Are the write-offs things that we just found that we're just not gonna get paid?
I don't know.
Okay. So the amount due, how many months? So right now we got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. We got 8 months that we're still waiting to see if we're gonna get payment on. And if those are the ones that I'm sure 3 bills have been sent out, do we get a breakdown from the billing company of what does that August amount do?
Oh, this is line by, like, the full report that we get is line by each call. Like, this call was billed this dollar amount, and then this is how much they paid, this is how much is due. So we know how much each call was generated or not generated.
Mhm.
This is just a summary of that.
Okay, but we're 8 months out
Mhm.
what's the likelihood of that amount ever getting paid? Is it? Do you know what I'm saying? Is it,
So I do know that when I spoke to the billing company the other day, they're having some difficulties with United Healthcare paying us. Why they're not 100% sure. And we still, like, we had to set up a payment portal for some railway insurance company the other day. That was kind of left field, like, not even sure what that was about, but, I think as things progress, if they had no expectancy of that $1,700 getting paid, I think that they would have lumped it into the write-off column by now. Because they send, with the 3 bills that they send to self-pays, it's they send 3 bills and that's really it. They might make a phone call or 2. I'm unaware of that. That's not something that we've discussed, but, so I think there's probably a likelihood that that might get paid at some point, but I can't say for sure.
do they send, sorry, do they send you, and I know you say you have it by every run, but do they send you a summary of like waiting to hear from insurance, waiting for records?
We have like, in the new billing system that they share with us, they have this has been denied, this is in progress, this has been submitted.
We do have some type of explanation.
So, Chris, I thought I saw you have a question in your eyes. You went to say something now?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot, I did.
So are we ready for this next?
Sure.
one? Okay. Are you ready?
Almost. I just want to make sure I can see. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this first page on the ambulance run data report. The only ones we need to be looking at is current, correct? It's just then they have 100% for the area.
This is all falls in court. This is.
So, okay, so for 2024, Northern Light did 365 runs. And the current fire department did 100, so there was a total of 579, and each of these places had involved, correct? And of them, current did 28.15%. No, we have the same thing.
Maybe this is set up.
What's it gonna be though?
Mine might be.
We did on purpose to see if we could see them.
Is that a sequence?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about a secret.
It's okay.
Mine.
Oh, here, right. I got it.
Did you actually
think you-
use Chris?
I got it. I figured it out. Right, then.
Yes.
You added a couple extra on front. Oh. Sorry about
So
that.
then the next
Oh,
page,
so you gave him extra. You didn't just mess with it. You gave him extra. Like,
so the next page is just how many runs were in the actual town. It'd be the same numbers on it.
This is EMS, these numbers? Okay.
And then in Penobscot, because we are in Penobscot, is that the reasoning?
Yep.
Okay,
all right, and those numbers don't include any fire, but they do include non-transport.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
and then it's based on hours.
Mhm.
So highest numbers of hours is between 6 AM at the 4.66%.
Yeah, by chat, we're doing that, I think.
Our medical call might kind of keep bankers hours, right? It's not a 24-hour, run as you
It
go.
was about 6 to 6.
Yeah, it's about 6 AM, 7 AM.
And overtime, and like Sandusky, they had like an hour or two off and then another little high mark, and that's kind of how they average, for whatever reason. So I was really paid last day, but
That's good news for your assessment.
So it looks like about 70% of the calls come in that peak 12-hour period. Have you looked like 23, 22, 21, is that like consistent or it seems like 500 calls is enough to know it's not an anomaly for 1 year.
Yeah, no, it's a consistent number. I think one time I looked back and with the consultant at least anyway, we looked back probably 4 years. And it's, going back to those 4 years, it's
Yeah.
during the day, it's like I call it banker's hours. What's they say?
Pretty consistent.
And what's that?
It's pretty consistent, is that what you're saying?
Yep. And it's Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
So it's not,
Oh, I need to think of that part.
Mhm. That's the next part, we look,
Yeah.
the days of the week.
Oh. All right,
Let's see, one's
Wow,
overtime,
that
and
is
it's the other
really-
week.
I got you.
That is really like.
Yep.
Wow.
So 6 AM to about 7 PM and Monday through Friday, that's the busiest numbers.
Under the situational on page 10. At the top, it says 136 and it's 23.49%.
Yep. so what is that? That is.
Yeah, that's right.
primary question. So that is 156 runs. Primary.
Okay, thank you, that's. There was no reason given.
So it could have been that for whatever reason, it was a canceled call, that there was there was no patient involvement in the call. It could have been anything. If you look a little bit further down that chart, you're gonna see a period. Right, on page 11. The period is a placeholder for an element called not applicable.
For what?
Not applicable.
Applicable.
Oh,
Those indicate interfacility transports. So
Okay.
during interfacility transport, we don't give a primary question. But the period indicates that it's specifically not applicable. So those other 136 though, those are ones where there was patient contact.
So say that to me one more time. What's the word, no primary,
No patient contact,
no, before that,
not applicable.
no, before that what it,
No patient. Contact.
primary, no primary.
No primary.
thank you for this, by the way. Pretty comprehensive and readable.
Yeah, it's.
Unbelievable.
Maybe for those of us that are over 50, I mean, 29.
I'll bring another set of glasses, please, stop these, so I can see it.
From PRCC.
So the interfacility, is that like a northern light to a northern light?
Well, no,
Facility, or is
because it
that
would have had
nursing
to,
home?
would have had to happen here in Florida. So it could have been, somebody getting picked up at one of the assisted living facilities to go for a specific appointment somewhere. Could have been something like that. I think there's only 3 of them too, so it could just be.
What about, lifts? Is that on, did I overlook that?
Let's assisted on page 15. That's falls under complaint report, right?
Oh, I do see it.
Some of those looks could have, you got you in the transport. So how would that,
It's a complaint report. It's a complaint reported by dispatch. That's what this is. So lift assists are a weird anomaly because when you talk about like, was this a lift assist? Or was this a fall, right? What? There could be differences, right? So you can get paid out to go to somebody who fell, because you would also look at, you know, like it says lift assist for the dispatch, but then you look up on the top of that page, there's 17. And 17 is the EMD card for falls, right? So you would think a lift assist would be like, okay, well, I was sitting in the chair and the chair moved and I slid to the floor. I'm not injured. I just need help up, right? Where a fall is, well, I fall and then I can't get up. Right? So there could be the potential for injury, right? I hate the term lift assist because you start thinking about chicken and an egg.
Or could it be a wheelchair to a bed or a bed? to a
Right, it could be
wheelchair?
that too, right? Could be any of those.
And then on 15, the no appropriate choice, just mean there was,
Yeah, so that's a kind of a catch-all for,
yeah.
you know.
Doesn't list it, but it happened.
And the medical alarms, is that like somebody has a first alert? So one of our biggest ones is sick person, number 26. So we just, and that's, could be anything.
So the way that the dispatch interrogation works when you call 911, they have a protocol that they follow. And they're looking for 4 primary symptoms, or the absence really of 4 primary symptoms. Chest pain, difficulty breathing, unresolved hemorrhage, and acute changes in level of consciousness. And if you don't have any, if you have one of those, then it fits into some other buckets really easily. Don't have any of those, and it's not trauma related, it's not fall related, it's, you know, I'm sick, I have a runny nose, I have a cold, I have
Feel good.
the flu, something like that, it falls into that sick person.
So. We had on page 17, if I'm jumping around too much, guys.
Nope, we're in.
Okay. So 17 starts like what was actually done for the person. So that kind of gives us a better idea of like, what was this, you know, chest pain, was it real chest pain or indigestion, right? Which is all chest pain, but like cardiac chest pain versus indigestion. So we had echocardio, which we had 150. You have criteria for that when you're gonna apply it, right? Not everybody gets one. Well, if we had 569 out of our
So there's only-
169, right?
There's only certain levels of EMS clinicians. Well, I can't say that. A diagnostic 12 lead is for a paramedic to do, right? EMTs and advanced EMTs can do a 12 lead, but it's to present it to a paramedic or the physician at the hospital when they arrive at the hospital. In the protocols, there are specific protocols that say, yes, you should do a 12 lead now. But there's also a lot of EMS clinician judgment involved. Should we do a 12 lead? EKG monitoring isn't a 12 lead though. That is just what we call limb leads. So they put 4 wires on the patient and it takes to 3 lead view on the patient's heart. It's not a diagnostic tool. The 12, if you look down a few,
Yeah, 93 of them.
electrocardiogram, that is 12 lead. And I,
So. In reviewing this. How would we determine? Because we're not gonna give the final diagnosis, this person at the hospital, then the doctor, provider is gonna give the final diagnosis there. But what does our 569 or the 163 for our particular ambulance, what is the biggest thing we see in our town for transports for health conditions? Urgent, urgent,
Falls and
Emergency.
respiratory are. So elderly patients with COPD, and people who fall. Those are probably the two biggest types of incidents that,
for our particular town.
yeah, so I don't have the number for all the primary pressure that just Lawrence did, but all these calls in here are all calls that only happened in the town of Lawrence.
Right.
So I think it would be comparable if you said, hey, there's, this many primary impressions that are listed on this report. Those are the calls that happen in the town of Lawrence. So of the residents or visitors or people passing through the town of Lawrence, or people have to be in the town of Lawrence when they need an ambulance. Those are the impressions that were generated for all of those things.
Well, and I think this gives you that.
What page?
The page 15 gives you the percentages of what.
Well, those are, those are complaints by dispatch, but the primary impressions would be the EMS clinicians. The primary impression is the EMS clinicians' diagnosis of,
Right,
of the.
so that's by dispatch, 15's by dispatch, so that's when you call it, but then pages 14, 11 and 14.
Right, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what they called in for.
But then when they actually get on the scene and see what's happening, that's the
Yeah,
E
But the numbers
situation.
run very close. Look how close the numbers run between what the clinician said and what they called it in as. They run very, very close.
I will tell you that dispatchers are very good and the protocols that they use are very good.
Yeah, I think that's the high level, isn't it? Even calls,
It's up to
respiratory,
7%.
and
And our primary, it's health residents, I mean, private residents we're going to pick up at.
1.5, eh?
So, I forgot about, I was gonna say, what's assistant living or healthcare? That would be our Northern Light facility across the street beside Family Dollar, and then nursing home would be in Jen.
I think there was at one point another assisted living facility here in town too.
On the back, on the
You're
back
right.
road.
Well, okay, so there's
You're
that
right,
one,
yeah,
there's
there's
another
another
one, that
one
would have
too.
been, yep, I
on
forgot about that
Village
one, on Village,
Village
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Marsh Road is the Charlotte Light Center.
Mm-hmm. I forgot about that one completely. All right, that makes sense.
yeah, the Long Village Drive is no longer right, and then just run over,
I don't know. I think they're just renting apartments.
no.
And then on 31 for the age, 133 of them, they just didn't give the age, or the age was unknown.
But that could, what page is that, 31?
31 at the top.
Well, that could be back to those runs where there's no prior suppression either. I think those numbers probably are pretty closely aligned right there, where there's no patient contact numbers.
So there's no patient contact?
on that page.
Yeah, because the page.
Did you, Chris, did you have extra 3 pages?
I do, actually.
You got 31, 32, and 33?
Yeah, I do.
That's Stuart, doesn't it? You-
Yeah.
So I do it.
Hey,
Go on.
Jacob likes him more than you.
Yeah. Oh, Roseanne was talking about this, I said, I don't know, it's
Or
30.
maybe it was Carolyn or Jill, they stapled it
Good
that.
bit, yeah. Sounds suspicious to me.
There was a
What happened to 32?
136.
It's on the back of 31.
Oh, okay,
I'm
there
sorry.
you go.
133
Thanks, Rose.
didn't have the primary impression, and there's 133 that don't have an age. Every now and then too, there'll be a patient that doesn't have the ability to communicate, and they don't have ID or something like that, so. It's not a customary practice, yes. We just leave that.
And some of us lie at our age.
Now, could, those 136 going back up to 5,000 as well? How will the provider order it up? It could be part of
Better
it.
not call
Yeah.
my age out over.
So I did wanna show you something to see if it's something that you can do for about a monthly basis. They did that in Somerset, Jana had found it on there online, you can keep that if you want. I made a copy, but is that something that you could do on a monthly basis
Or somebody.
with your, or somebody? Kind of just gives you, it doesn't give you,
London's dispatch log is different than Somerset.
Yeah,
It's a
I
different-
mean, I don't have access to the dispatch system, so I guess my answer is gonna be no.
but your system that you use, the EMS main, you don't have anything like it to break down the calls?
Yeah, I'm also not gonna give addresses,
Well, it doesn't give you,
so.
it gives you the road, but,
Yeah.
I mean, that's on public, that's fine, we don't need addresses.
Something somebody had access to, that's a public.
That's okay.
An option should be able to give you guys something like that.
That's right.
When our friend was here, what was his name? From the regionalization, he has all, he said, yeah, he said, he said he had that information already for our town, that we were looking,
Number,
yeah, and the call logs and all that.
He got that through dispatch.
Okay.
But we also, the town signed a data use agreement for that project. And we provided data for that. project.
We did,
Well, then don't forget that.
who signed it?
6 o'clock next Wednesday night.
I would have to say that I'm not, well, I wouldn't rule that out,
Oh, I wouldn't either, I just
but
wondered,
I don't recall it.
yeah, I don't either, that's why I was asking. I just thought-
I did.
Because did you sign it?
I not yet.
Well, and that would be fine. I just wondered how come we can't seem to get the information, but he already had it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so when we talk
The
about,
board can't get the information,
when we
but
talk
the
about,
visualization leader does already have it.
well, he doesn't have addresses, right? But
We don't
Yeah.
want addresses.
No.
no, I didn't want, I was just giving an example, I mean, Somerset's doing it, and they put it on the public, so,
yeah.
I mean,
So
they're obviously not
there's a
doing any
difference,
HIPAA
right?
violation,
And
but.
There's a
They're
difference
not,
how.
they're not, so the dispatch center is not a entity that is covered under HIPAA. The fire department is an entity that's covered under HIPAA. And there's pieces of, patient's record that are protected under HIPAA. If you do a quick search of CMS de-identification standards, you'll see that there's the location of an incident that, and this is a very conservative look on it, and it frustrates a lot of people. It frustrates myself too, but, they'll say,
I just wanna say before you go on.
Yeah.
Other select boards, other municipalities, they have access to this information. They have the access. They have it.
I don't know,
There's an issue
I don't know
that
what
we
they're asking.
we can't get,
What I'll tell you is that if there's a report that you want, right, and there's specific things that you want, we would be happy to consider putting that together, right? I'm not speaking for the fire chief, I'm not speaking for him because he's operationally in charge of the fire department. I spoke to Roseanne, we talked about this.
what is the name of the report that you're looking for?
He's calling it the ambulance run data report. But when I talked to National, that's what he's calling it, and for some reason, I gave it to him, and he's like, this isn't exactly what I'm looking for, so I'm trying to find out the elements, so going over it tonight, now I can go over and say, these are the elements. What elements are you talking about, because we wanna be able to do an assessment to see what our town has and what it needs.
But these numbers are very helpful.
These are numbers,
These are very helpful.
So there's no way to break it down by call, I don't need any. I was just giving you an example. What I really want is dispatch time. When you guys got toned out, the arrival, the clear time in service and quarters, like that stuff. What kind of call it was, it'd be nice to know those numbers. And I asked about it a couple months ago, and I don't know what Mark told you. But I asked for those numbers months ago,
So
and then you guys gave us these, which is great.
here's what I'll tell you, right? If you look at that, the identification standard for CMS, the date, time of the call, in a town is protected information. So, because
So how is this online if it's protected?
that's not, okay, but, okay,
Okay, so what he's saying is
We can't know the dates and times when the call comes?
dispatch, he's saying dispatch
We're the only board,
is different.
the only board that can't know.
I think we gotta go through dispatch.
Well, they're gonna charge us. We have all the information over at the fire department, don't we have this?
We don't have a run, if we don't have a report.
let me ask you this though. What is it that you're trying to,
I wanna see how long you guys are on calls, like when you get dispatched out. I think the townspeople should know that.
well, we can
Right.
write that without the time.
Well, I'd like to know the dates and what you guys went on a call for. That's not HIPAA. I don't understand why the dates
Yeah,
and.
and HIPAA, that isn't, I mean, we've had a lot of research on HIPAA lately, so, all right, so moving on.
You talk to the right person, dispatch, you can get that statement.
I already did and they're gonna
Now,
charge
we're
us.
having a lot of
That's
trouble getting
okay.
any
They
information.
shouldn't charge.
Not Scott for some
You
reason.
call and talk to my.
We're paying taxes to them.
All right, so any more questions on this?
Not at the moment, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Anything else?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, road commissioner information. By the way, our whole town is graded, everything is just like a highway. Grant Road is a little bumpy because we got a whole bunch of rain in between, but it's way better than it was, and it's beautiful.
It's better than some of the bank.
Yeah, it really, some of their tired roads, but no, the whole town is graded as of yesterday.
Good.
Even Prescott Road has been very good, so, yeah.
What about village, what's this about village?
I was waiting for Jacob to tell us, because I don't know, I
Yes.
wanted to tell that ahead. I was beat him to the punch.
This is, just for everyone's information, a resident from Village Drive has been in asking questions about the process for having that road adopted by the town.
We've actually gone through
That's a
that
pass. Is that by the main standards?
16 times. And-
So I sent her a bunch of information. They're gonna talk about whether they're interested in making the investment to getting it to where it could be considered. And I encouraged them to come back and talk to me and the select board before they spend a bunch of money on it.
The town has not been accepting roads in quite a few years.
Yeah.
We can't
Well,
even keep up the ones we got now.
That one in particular has gone through this board.
That's
And
the
it-
one
Oh,
down
yeah.
here.
I don't think it met the guidelines.
It didn't at all, that's why he's saying.
Well, that don't even matter, Charlie, that just, the town doesn't really want to take on any more roads. because we
But
can't
that's
afford
why,
it.
but again,
But it does matter in the end, because if it doesn't meet up with our town guidelines,
Right.
then it doesn't accept, it's not acceptable.
Well, that's right, but they got it through.
that's why Jacob said, don't spend any money.
It's gotta go,
Bring it up there.
that's gotta go before the town meeting now.
Right, so the road construction ordinance specifies that any road built before 2008, which is constructed to the 1976 planning board standards, has to have a minimum of 3 inches of hot mix asphalt on it. That has to be certified by an engineer, before it's eligible to be added to a warrant for acceptance for the town meeting.
Right.
And then once that happens, the town isn't obligated to accept it even then.
If I
But
remember
there's still a
correctly,
process that,
if I remember correctly, they went in and did some boring to find out the depth. The last time they wanted to do it, but I'm not sure she wanted to do it, some of the people, the tenants said they wanted to, she didn't. So I don't know if that was ever done, much further than that.
But yeah, I'm not sure, and I don't believe the lady that I've talked to was involved in that process.
Right.
And I did take a drive up in there. It's not as bad as I was expecting it to be because it sounded like it was in pretty rough shape. I mean, I think it's in danger of getting there, but
Yeah, it's
It's
nothing
not
like the
bad.
other one that one's.
That's why the road association, that's why you need a road association.
All right, is that all on that?
The only other thing I should have put on the agenda, but I didn't, Jen Bosse's from the, Bangor Area Comprehensive Transportation Committee.
Nothing
Then-
free anymore.
Well, he sent another email late this afternoon saying it may be, but, just looking to gauge interest in doing a pilot project on speed control in the village, basically by putting some of those collapsible, little barricades up,
At $39 a piece.
yeah, near the town hall.
Mhm.
And it could be something the town would have to pay half of, it could be something that the state would cover in its entirety. I think the question now is there any interest in the board? Even assuming the state's paying 100% of it, is there board interest in doing it?
So the guy that came in
Yeah,
to do all the reflecting things up there, not free.
So what do you think? Well.
I just need to know a price.
$39 a piece for 50 of those to go, but
No, but he said if they, how do you feel if they pick?
He's a little more detailed. He told
well,
us
I'm
it's
a little
something
worried
different.
that we're going to invest money into something that it wasn't something that was on our radar to begin with.
No.
He brought it in and we said, carry on, if it's not gonna be a cost or a headache to us.
Who's gonna help the company?
Now it's moved into, yes, and it would help the comprehensive thing. So you want to,
No,
I,
if it's not even on our radar,
That's part of the, one of the sections in the comprehensive plan about, is it? They were supposed to do it.
We said, we got stuff, DOT's got that, I think,
Got all that stuff.
pretty much all selling that back, I think we found that battle on Jacob.
well, I think Roseanne has been in contact
Yeah.
with that some, I don't,
oh,
Okay.
the gentleman that you, yeah,
right,
he's gonna review what the state sent us.
this guy came when you weren't
Right,
here.
and I reached out to him because I sent Tom, the gentleman that's in charge of getting us the information, and he sent it to us. And it isn't very, it's generic.
Okay,
And I'm going to send it on to this gentleman and see if he thinks it's going to be enough. That he can write
So-
down.
we will move forward with that in
Yes.
hopes that, not in just in hopes, because I do not want to invest, I don't know about you guys, I don't want to invest.
Oh, it's presented there, it was gonna cost.
Right, and it wasn't something that we were worried about or.
Did he say it was now going to cost something?
The email from today,
Oh,
late
I didn't
today,
see that.
yeah.
well, so the email from late today was a little bit of backtracking on the previous one, it said it was gonna have a cost. So maybe it doesn't, I think right now I'm looking for a sense of if it's free, is there interest or is there just no interest whatsoever?
If it's free, I'm interested, because I think it will help Roseanne with the comprehensive and that part of it.
It is.
Well,
Technically a state road, so. we should-
yeah, so the specific project he's talking about right now is
Here,
out on Main Street around the crosswalk, just trying to make that safer. So I don't think that necessarily relates to the
No.
comprehensive plan.
But what, the information I have, what the state gave me, I can send to him and he'll help us with that.
I think like folks go right along, so segregate out a parking lane.
Yeah, basically what it does is it makes the travel lane feel constricted so that people slow down.
and they won't.
Or they'll run over.
That's what.
Well, I mean, the problem there is the fact that you are, when you put them in there, now you are restricting it even more.
I
Yeah,
think it will slow people down, especially, well, because we only have a few more.
And now they run over it, and they want to unpave.
But-
Yeah, that's bad. Well, I've seen it.
Yeah, that's true, the food
Yeah, I've
pantry
seen it.
is there.
Quite congested then.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's free, I'm interested. Kind of my life. motto.
See what,
But,
see what plays out.
right, what I mean, it wouldn't hurt to, even though it's really not free, because it's still coming out of our pockets, but, this way we can look at it and,
I was just gonna say, if you look back at that EMS data, motor vehicle crashes are the fifth leading cause of types of calls that you have in the community here. There is a Safe Streets for All grant that's available right now, from the federal government, and there's about $2 billion worth of funding that's eligible in there, and there's municipalities are allowed to apply. The application closes June 26th of 2025. And one of the, like a project is to plan for safe streets in your community, so,
Did you say it was Safe Streets for All?
yeah. I'll text you a link to it.
That's further supported by the data from the comprehensive plan surveys. You'll see there's a lot of comments about, controlling speed and the safety of roads in those surveys.
Speaking of roads, Mac was running a lot of it, was gonna do the bridges, but Mac is out right now, so hopefully next week we'll get to them. We really need 2 people. Plus, me and Bobcat, so.
We appreciate it. Well, you're gonna check with, Kyle to see if he, is Kyle? The one that does this,
Yeah, Kyle Patterson.
see if he
He's a-
could do the cleaning up of the grass and stuff around it.
Was it the brush we wanted, Kat?
let's get it washed and looked at,
Yeah.
because,
Okay.
I think we may need more than Kyle can do. We may need
Oh,
to,
really?
you think,
I don't know, like you said, I'll get a better idea when
Yeah.
I'm over
and
the
then
month.
we can kind of all go look at it, I think.
Yeah.
All right,
I just had a question. I still have that buggy sign that was taken down on Beansmouth Road. I need a post. I saw there was one in the closet over here. Is that already designated for something?
No,
Can I use that
Yeah.
for the buggy sign?
top and bottom.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, I might just need the bottom.
Either way, you have the whole thing, Roseanne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you take
The
it.
bottom got clipped off, but I think the
Okay.
top's still good.
You were looking for a signpost, you mean? There were some in that storage container by the fire department at one time. I don't know if they're still
I
there.
think we got one right here that.
all right, now moving on, if we're all good with road commissioner, all good?
Yeah.
All right, municipal officer input. Call out, we said we're gonna move that down.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
She's like,
Well, because the Corinth is being toned up every time there's a call in Canusky.
That's good, one automatic response.
how come? What's automatic response? Are we on automatic response for Bradford, Hudson,
no,
Charleston,
No,
Exeter?
only Kenduskeag.
Why?
Well, I can't tell you why, I can't tell you for sure who, I can only guess, I'm not gonna do that, but, I mentioned somebody that I saw at a conference last week, and he said, let's do one automatic response, not just for mutual aid, but we're on automatic, so every time the Corinth's toned out, every time Leslie toned, we get automatically toned out. But Mark did tell me that last month, or whatever it was, they come here 4 times, and we went down there 14. So,
Not quite mutual.
But the point is, it's not a mutual.
well, that's exactly right, but that wasn't how it was set up, that's the problem, I don't know how.
So we need to get to the bottom of what automatic response is.
But you go down, every time they get a call, we get a call.
Well, I got that, but I'm gonna say, we need to find out how it was set up and why.
But Kenduskeag is being asked to come here rescue more than they have do.
Well, I feel that the towns, citizens of each town should pay for their own town. And if we don't have a contract or something with all the other towns around us, why are we doing it with
The
us?
mayor's asking a lot more lately, that when they get toned out, they don't respond, mayor's saying, tone Kenduskeag. That's happened a lot more.
So,
I was gonna say, I really think we're at the point we need to do an assessment. I know where our ambulance is in repair right now, but we need to look at what we have, like how many people are still even on the roster for EMS to go.
All right,
Or
let me list these out. Number one, we need a complete roster of what, who,
Right.
and qualifications, what, and,
What do we have for people?
and two,
Our equipment, you know, do we have an ambulance? We're using 206. It sounds like our fire chief is going out as a first responder. I don't know if we have any other first responders going out. I mean, I think we'd just be nice to know what's going on, what is happening, what's the picture? Like, we took a shot right now, what's happening in our town?
and like this shows us hours of need. That's another thing we want on our assessment. Assessment.
Well, I've got a pre-made assessment
Oh, good.
from another state. It just called the attributes of a successful rural ambulance service assessment. And it's just one that they've made up, but it, you know, it just asking like, what do you have for licensing? We have ALS. You know, we are paid, you know, but we're not paid on call, we're just paid as we go, you know, what is our 911 call volume? So the last year it was 579. I think we're now getting enough information that we can go through and answer some of these questions. You know, when the fire chief is back, you know, or he had somebody that's willing to do that with him to go in and look at these.
So do you wanna put a workshop together for us to look at it?
I think it would be good, so then we're all on the same page, and then, like, what contracts do we have in another town? Did we sometime in the past make a contract with Kenduskeag, saying we're on automatic response? And who do we have mutual aid with, and find out, you know, what do we actually have going on? Cause I just don't feel we have a good grasp of that.
That's,
I would agree also. So
But-
when, where, and how
one
would
thing
you like it done?
when we get the fire chief back, we talk to him, and set up something with him.
Okay, when, where, and how?
I'd say within the next month. It
That's
would
what I
be, I think we need to get on this and sit down and have meaningful conversations about what do we have, what would we like to have, what can we afford, and how can we implement it? I mean, that was the whole, I think, goal from the beginning, you know, we did that 5-month thing and we wanted to have something within a year, and if we keep going the way we're going, we're gonna have absolutely nothing in the next year.
Right, so including in this workshop, we're going to have the board.
Mhm.
Do we want fire department officers, the entire fire department who would like to be involved? Who do you want there?
Well, it's open anyways, right? I mean,
It's open anyway.
Whoever's gonna be able to give us
Right, but we need to request, we need to request,
the information.
and, now with the fire department, they have jobs designated and different areas designated. So some of them would have the information that our fire chief does.
But we can also pass this to them ahead of time, so they can be prepared. You know, so we're not just throwing it at them at that meeting, give them time to like, look at this and see what it has to say, and I can make copies and give it to you, Jacob, to pat, you know, to hand out.
So you're,
And then we could have them do that and then like come meet with us and we could all have a talk and be on the same page.
all right, so you're requesting only the fire chief, or who are you requesting?
I think we should give the assessment to the fire chief. And then he knows who's doing what jobs, and he could share with them, this is the information we need, and they could.
Okay, here's my concern. We've had workshops in the past. We get into the workshops, we don't get any information. If summer's coming, I don't wanna waste the time. So we need to either request the people that can give us the information and have the workshop. Or, do you understand what I'm
I
saying?
do understand what you're saying, but if we have the workshop without the information.
No, I agree.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
If you could send me that, Roseanne, how about I'll give it to the chief. We'll set a timeline to have it completed and returned, and then maybe that's a good time to schedule a.
That's what we need. We need to
I think that's
request that,
great.
this is the timeline, this is what we need. Because I am not going to come and waste hours trying to get information we don't get. I'm already frustrated with it. I think that we have to have that. So,
I will get this to you. Fresh copy, and have you share it with the fire chief and even.
all right, what would you like for a timeline? Today is the 29th, and I say give them 2 weeks to get it for our next meeting. And then maybe schedule the workshop for the following Wednesday or Thursday. Fire chief has on the.
Can't be Thursdays.
Right, not Thursdays, like a Wednesday of the next week. You think?
Not,
Yeah,
not the first week of the
the
month.
meeting.
First
We
Wednesday.
do the Wednesday in between our meetings, so that we have time to review.
The Wednesday. Wednesday, the 18th.
Before, our next meeting is,
Will this be open to the public?
Yeah, we're.
Yes, workshops are. All right, so we do 2 weeks is the 12th, and then the 18th would be the workshop.
is that Wednesday?
The Wednesday after our meeting, right?
Yeah.
Does that work
So we're
for
gonna let
you?
them know that,
I think so.
Yeah, I'll get this, I'll
get
email
that
this.
to them, let them know that we're gonna have a workshop and have it done by then. Or done by our next meeting.
All right, and, we'll do a 6 PM.
Yeah.
Tentatively, whether, just once but just, I think if we put it in and we have it,
Committee.
committed.
Yeah.
All of us need to be committed, and then we will, at least have some idea, rather than, because we've kind of rolled this, we kept saying, oh, we need an assessment, let's just put it in, do it up,
do it.
see what we got.
And for both, not just EMS, but fire, too.
That's basically.
This specifically, but yeah, I mean, we can do an assessment for them too.
Because that's what's rolling right now.
Yeah.
Fire.
All right.
The other question I had, comprehensive plan is in.
The surveys.
Surveys are in.
The surveys are in. The surveys are in. I wish. No, so we're at, no,
Copy and paste.
the surveys are in. Janet is finishing up,
I love her.
not just her, but we had some other people put theirs in as
You
well.
had some really, really good people working with you.
Yes,
They
some
went
amazing
on it,
people.
like stink on the north.
But we had 214
We had
online and then.
211
And then, 63
paper.
paper.
Oh, that, I mean,
Wow.
not great, no, it's not what we'd hoped,
But you know, that's,
Yeah.
But it is.
Dexter.
yeah, it falls along with what our voters.
Right.
Coming.
Well, you take Charlie and I, George and Janice, we get papers, okay?
So that will help us also with our assessment, because we can see with that what the 280 people were thinking too. We can
Well,
incorporate
there's
that.
a lot of
into our-
things, yeah.
our
There's a lot of
assessment.
areas in our
So if
town.
you can bring that, if you have like some idea of what this and that, comments, what was put in, then we can use that also with our assessment. If that works for you.
Wait.
And now we're gonna be actually working on the actual chapters, and that's where the gentleman Jack comes in.
Jack comes back,
Gentleman Jack.
Jack Dorsey from the,
Oh, I'm gonna say,
He's
Gentleman
left.
Jack, I did one thing in both.
all right, did you have anything for municipal?
Magic Mike thing.
Oh, my. Anything else? Nothing else? Anybody else have municipal? Nothing, nothing, nothing? All right, I'm going to make a motion. We go into executive session pursuant to Title 1 MRSA 4056A to discuss the personnel matter
7:35.
at 7:35.
Perfect.
You guys have a great night.
Cheers for coming. Have fun. We always have fun. Some days,
ready for the next couple of days.
some days we have more fun than others.
Oh, yeah. Why did you?
Yeah.
It is. That's why it's gonna
I'll
rain.
talk to you later. It's not a maybe. I got some stuff.
It's not a maybe, but.
But it's not a no either. You didn't say no, I'm just saying.
I wanna help in a different avenue outside.
Okay, no, but I.
But I'll talk to you about it.
He doesn't ever say no.
My biggest-
He has two little kids. We have to.
I'll support it.
Oh, we need a discussion. Jared's like that. I can tell it. All in favor? No. Jacob.